It's time for the show that engages with people of the combat sports world. And now, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed combat sports show champion of the world, Flash Knockdown.
And what was the reason you decided to focus more on MMA, JJ?
I'd say that sometimes in Muay Thai I preferred the diversity in MMA. The fight camp was more better. I see a better future in it. Truthfully, it can provide you a better livelihood. I love the UFC. I feel like it felt right MMA. I love the grappling side of things. A Muay Thai fight camp is very different than MMA fight camp. If you have an injury on your leg in the Muay Thai camp, you still have to do it. MMA, you can work around your body and be a little bit more smart about your training.
Okay, and I guess MMA also helps you to play to your strengths, your wrestling strengths, the takedowns and so on.
Yeah, and like the way my body's built, I'm not exactly 6 foot, so, if someone's got tall, long legs, I can take them down in MMA.
Exactly.
Like I can fight smart, close the distance, or I can use my body to an advantage a little bit more.
Exactly. Yeah, makes sense. How would you describe your fighting style for anyone that hasn't yet seen you compete?
I would say, always trying to push to close the distance. I'd say, and trying to get this. I like to take the back and try and get the submission. Or
oh yeah,
I love to get big takedowns. I do love picking people up and slamming them. I find that just so much fun. And really just trying to. I'm well diverse. I see my wrestling comes out a lot in my fights, more than it does in the gym even, kind of strange, but I just you can't treat every opponent the same. You have to look at them and see how you're going to flow around them, how you're going to solve that problem in front of you. You can't go in too I'm going to get the takedown. You have to, you have to react to the opponent type of thing.
Okay. And we mentioned Ronda and Henry Cejudo, but is there any active fighters you model your game on now?
I'd say, when I was younger, I did. And the last 2 years, I kind of stopped doing that since I was training with a few guys that have been in the UFC and sparred with them and sparred the guys that have been in one championship. Now I've realized it's my time to become me, not model on anybody else, start to develop what's right for me. There's no 5'3", people walking around the UFC that much. So I'm okay, I've got to draw up my own blueprint and be my individual now. I'm gonna spar some of the guys from Vaughn or the UFC. I do okay, and I'm okay. Well, now this is the target. Now this is the top of the ladder. This is the goal to take their position. That's the goal now. If it be 5 years, if it be 10, 15, I know I'll get there.
Any advice you would give to someone preparing for their first competitive fight, JJ?
Don't take it too serious. That's the thing I'd say. Take it serious in your training, but you look back at it, there's some pressure on yourself, especially at that age. It's just just turn up, be well prepared, obviously, but don't take it too serious. It's just, even now, it's still amateur fights, people are treating this like Conor McGregor, trash talk and stuff amateur. It's nobody's getting paid. Nobody's no one's getting millions of pounds or millions of dollars. So just relax, just compete. Don't over glamorize it or overdo it. Just compete and try and win. That's all you got to do.
Starting with the fight against Kyle at Budo 11, I believe you were 14 at that time.
Yeah,
right.
I was 14. Yeah, I think. God, I can't try and remember because it's a long time ago that fight. I can't even remember. The most fights I can recall is maybe back to the fight in France at 16, the A-class ones.
Right.
Because my junior ones just all mumbled up in my head.
But looking at the fight with Kyle, and based on what you can remember, it was very competitive, very, very well matched, and you lost by split decision. What did you learn the most following that particular bout?
don't stick my neck into guillotines. I know if Andy's watching.
Yeah,
this,
you walked straight.
Yeah,
You walked straight into the guillotine, didn't you? Literally, you walked straight into it.
Just a few times. You know, it's funny because it was kind of forgotten about that fight after a week because I fought Muay Thai literally 9 days later, and then fought Muay Thai again 10 days later. So it was like, that's what I mean. Like, if there's a loss, so the next week I'll try and go and get a win again. And it's like, it was very like, it's not like A class or like professional. You sit on a loss or a win for a while. Like, there was no sitting or waiting around. It was like, oh, okay, got any injuries? No, okay, let's go and get another one. That's kind of the idea, to just keep the competitive ball rolling.
I see. Okay. Other than not walking straight into the guillotine, any other lessons that you learned?
I'd say the guillotine one was the focus. Just like, obviously I was very scrappy because I was only young, and you couldn't look into it too much. You know, you're dealing with nerves. You're young. It's like, it's hard to analyze them fights. You know, you can analyze your A-class fights even now. Amateur, sometimes you got to like, can't over-analyze them too much. You know, like,
yeah.
There's lots of little lessons and techniques you go over and stuff, but there's never like, oh my God, you were completely wiped out at this. You know, like, it's always just slowly building, just hit the little mistakes here and there.
Yeah. So then that takes us to your fights against Bryan Wright, opening the card at Almighty Fight Night 1 at the end of 2016. Due to the no headshot rule, you were able to utilize your strength by controlling him against the cage and landing a number of body slams. It seemed like you were having a lot of fun in there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you know, like, against as a junior fight, it's just like, you just try what you've been trying in the gym. You know, you're not very like game planning for an opponent that's had 50,000 like professional fights on Muay Thai. You know, you're just doing what you feels right at the time when you're like when you're doing junior fights. You know, you're wearing shin pads, and it was my last junior fight, so it's just kind of like, I was like, oh, maybe if I stand back up and get another one, or get another one, try this takedown, just like trying like different takedowns, just like, you know, it's the junior fight's like a heavy spar. You're just trying stuff that you can, work in the gym. It's like practice for your amateur A and then your professional. It's just like a really big building up.
Yeah, despite that, the card was fairly high profile, bearing in mind it was headlined by now Bellator fighter Fabian, the Assassin Edwards, who has a 19-0 MMA record. Yeah,
he fought my teammate Igor, obviously from the same gym as me. Close fight. Igor got him down at the end of the third. But obviously, Fabian's like a really good fighter. You know, he's showing that now. He's like rocketed from there.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, he's killing it right now. 19-0, both, with his amateur and professional record combined. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Super impressive.
Very, yeah. So then at 16, you mentioned it just before, JJ, you took on Francis Breen at Cage Warriors 82 in Liverpool, opening the show for the likes of Paddy, Molly, and of course, Vaughn Lee, who was taking on Nathaniel Wood. Vaughn is now head MMA and striking coach at Phuket Top Team. Did you know Vaughn at the time?
Actually, no. Like, the fight came to materialize. No, I knew of Vaughn, but I mean, like, I didn't know him personally.
That's what I mean.
Like, and I was actually in the changing rooms with Nathaniel. So and then as I came to Top Team, I was training with Vaughn. Vaughn was obviously my coach, and we're doing stuff. I looked at a memory, and a fight card came up. And I went, me at the bottom. I went, hey, Vaughn, we fought on the same card. You know, we went, oh, really? We had a eureka moment. I really realized, like, maybe, 3 years down the line, that we're on the same fight card. Like, it's a small world, you know. It was crazy.
Crazy, man. Talking about Nathaniel Wood and being on his sides of the dressing room, you had a picture with One Punch Pickett, Brad.
Yeah, because seeing him in the UFC, I was like, I'll get a picture. I was like, it was quite a surreal experience feeling cage at 16. Like, I took the fight on 2 weeks' notice, and I was transitioning from 52 kilos to try and get to 57. So they're like 55 kg, and they put like, I need a 57 kilo A class 1-0 for this guy. And I went, I texted my coach, can I take this? And I was like, yeah, sure, you know. And he was like, mate, what's your weight? And I said, I'm 60 kilos. I was actually like 56. And he weighed me in the gym, like, come tomorrow, if you're 60 kilos, you can have it. So what I did is, I drank loads of water, filled my stomach up, And I stepped on the scales in the gym. Look, I'm 60. It came to the weigh-ins. I was like under, and then the weight shot down. But you know, I really wanted to get on the show. I really wanted to be on it, and I believe that I had the right game plan to win.
Yeah, and that you did. In an interview post-fight, Francis shared that the crowd and the arena got to him a little, which he felt affected his performance. What was it like for you?
For me, like, crowds and arenas don't get me, and that's not me acting tough. Like, there's other things that get me, but crowds and arenas I'm quite numb to. I'm quite like numb to that. I just enjoy it, and I don't feel like anyone's there when I'm fighting. Like, I'm very just like in my own little world. Like, then things don't affect me, you know, like, but other things will affect me in different parts of the process and stuff. But the arena and the crowd, that I'm fine with that. That, like, if it's a few thousand or a few hundred or two people, like, it's all the same to me. I just kind of like zone in, and then it's weird autopilot.
Yeah. You can't afford to focus on anything else other than your competitor.
Yeah, 100%, you know.
Yeah, it's a dangerous sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've opened proceedings on 6 separate occasions, so half your fights. And yes, I have counted. What are the advantages, and if any, disadvantages of doing so?
The advantage is you turn up and like you fight straight away. There's no sitting around for hours, and also the other advantage is you get a free ticket. So after you've fought on a big cage race card, you're allowed to walk around backstage. All the UFC guys are there. You get to watch this show. Like, it's basically like you have a fight, and then you actually get to watch the real show. Like, it's like, you know, it's very good that way. But the downside is you turn up and like you're actually fighting quite early, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So like you're still quite groggy, and like you should get like 30 minutes to warm up because they're very strict about the time. But it's good if you just turn up, get your job done, and then you're like, oh, I can enjoy the rest of the night now, not sitting around for hours, you know.
True. So then at Cage Warriors 88 in Liverpool, you competed against Chris Nichol, who at the time would have been 29 years old, and you only 16 years old. First of all, what was the thinking behind taking that fight? And was there any apprehension competing against a fully grown man when you were just a developing teenager?
Not really. Like, obviously everyone was like, you're crazy, but like, you said 59 kilos, and I was well underweight, and he was cutting weight because he'd fought like 66 and 61. But I was like, I just believed in myself, you know, and I didn't care. Like, I was like, whatever, it's just a fight, you know. Like, I've had a lot worse things than fighting like some old man, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, whatever, you know. Yeah, you got big arms, good for you. You know, like, I was like, it just a fight, you know. There's got either maybe you're gonna get hurt, but that's okay, you know. I'm okay with that. You know, just I wanted to have a go at it and see if I could do it. I tried, you know. I got stitches. I got a few good takedowns. It was close, you know. He actually just lay on top of me for a bit and just trying to rub me out because he was stronger. But it was one of those. I was like, okay, whatever, you know. It was a win-win for me, because then if you win it, yeah, it's great. No one expected that. If you lose, like, everyone expected you to lose anyway. For him, it's a bit of a loss. I felt bad for him. You know, you beat a 16-year-old or you lost a 16-year-old. No, it was more the pressures on him. I knew that going into the fight. I was like, well, this guy's going to be nervous because he's fighting a 16-year-old kid in front of his friends who's half the size of him. I'd be feeling like a bit of an idiot right now. So for me, I was like, I've got no pressure. Because no one expected me to win, and no one expected me to... People expect me to lose, so either way, I wasn't bothered. I was like, oh, I'm going to fight this guy.
Wow, you've got a really good attitude, JJ. On to your fights against Cameron Chamberlain at Cage Warriors Academy 3. Was there any tension pre-fight as he refused your offer to touch gloves?
I don't know, really. I was like, I always normally touch gloves. I just looked at him, I was like, all right. Without being too rude, I was like, all right. I think I don't know what he was thinking. I was just like, okay. Like, you don't think it's, you know, some guys just do their thing, you know. I was like, I didn't get annoyed. I was like, after the time, people don't want to touch gloves. I was like, okay, whatever. I just thought it's going to make it even better when I finish you. Like, you know,
yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Like, I'm used to it. You know, people look at me if they see me because I'm young or I'm small. Like, oh, it's just a kid. You know, they're going to run through me. And, like, I like surprising people and, like, proving people wrong, you know. Like, whatever. You don't want to touch gloves, cool. You know, like... you can't. People like to read into little things. I don't. I'm more about the big picture. Just like, get it done. If you want to act like this, okay, cool. That's on you. I can only control what I'm gonna do.
Wow, I'm loving your positive energy, my man.
Yeah,
Where'd you get that from?
Um, good people. Surround yourself with the right people and listen. You know, like got a lot of good influences in my life. Like one of my like when I was 16, like one of my good friends and I'd consider coach like Jay. You know, he you know speaks to me a lot. I learn a lot. You know, just speaking to people older, learn how to in and out of the cage handle yourself and control things. You know, just branching out and speaking to people, you pick up these things. You know, not thinking you
Okay.
know it all, trying to be absorb it.
Yeah. Okay. Coming back to that fight then, JJ, it didn't last very long at all. You managed
No.
to sink in, yeah, you managed to sink in the rear naked choke in the very first rounds. It was a
Mhm.
really accomplished and slick performance. What do you recall of that particular fight and how it played out?
Um, I remember I was like, I needed to get done quick because I was in hospital 2 weeks before. I had a ruptured tonsil. I was like on antibiotics and like I came out of hospital 59 kg and I was like, oh, I can make weight because the fight was 59 kg. I was like, oh, cool, I'll take it. I wouldn't been fit, but I was like, oh, I want to take the fight anyway. So I looked at the opponent. I was like, I can take this. I can do this, you know. And then I got it finished and I was like, oh, like I just close the distance. His balance wasn't the best, so I was like, as soon as I got the first like clinch and feel of him, I was like, okay, I got this. So it just rolled from there. I just did what I did best and got the back and then sunk the choke in. And the angle wasn't quite right. I'd hold my fingers in the glove and then I knew I was just slow squeeze, push my head forward and I'd get it eventually. I didn't want to burn my arms out and I knew I had time. So I'm just going to squeeze this slowly and then start upping it when I feel like I've got it.
Well, I'm surprised that you said that you had an infected tonsils just 2 weeks prior, because after that fight, you really let your emotions out. You know,
Yeah,
you did. Yeah.
there was a lot going on, you know. I can't say what, but there was many things going on outside
Sure.
the cage at that fight, and you know it was kind of like you know, to a certain someone a message to say like, you know, you can do what you want to me, and, you know, just you can't, like, you know, no one can influence what I do in the cage. That makes sense. That is mine. Like it's the one thing that never changes, and the one thing that is mine. Nobody else's. No one can influence it. It's on me. That's what I love about it. You know, there's no external factors can't influence it. It's mine,
Yeah.
and then it just felt good to get that win, big time.
Yeah. And you had a sort of touching moments with your dad who was in the crowds. It was really lovely to see. Is your dad at all of your fights?
Yeah, all of them are also in the UK, and they're like
Of
very,
course.
you know, it doesn't matter how many people are there, as long as I'm happy, you know, and been through a lot, and you know, at that time we're going through a lot, and it was, you know, it was good to, you know, just get the win. It felt so good, you know. Sometimes I'm trying to get the win for other people, if that makes sense. I'm not too bothered, you know, like I'm very laid back, but you know, I'm trying to do it for other people sometimes.
Okay. Amazing.